Bob Lee, the former ESPN Outside the Lines host, SportsCenter host, and 11-time Sports Emmy winner, announces retirement after 40 years of employment there at ESPN. How surprising was it, the reaction, when you announced your retirement?
Stunning. Overwhelming. The most emotional, professional experience I've ever had, my family's ever had. It's incredible. And it's going to take me weeks to properly try and circle back to the people who have reached out. And most people I'll never meet. And, and if it was on Twitter, it's tough to get your arms around that. But, Twitter and DMs and Facebook messages and handwritten notes, the lost. It's been insanely gratifying. And at the same time, it kind of ratified, right decision, right time, right reasons, mostly personal and time to go. But it's been insane. It's been wild.
But you go on a sabbatical.
Yeah.
And what did you find on that sabbatical? Were you testing retirement?
Kind of. Little test drive. Company was great. I can't say enough of how patient they were, how understanding they were. And when I left, needle was probably in the middle. And some days the needle would move one way, and some days the needle would move the other way. And, and when you're sitting in South Florida and it's, minus 15 up here, it's a little easier to think about, well, shoot, yeah. But didn't miss the grind. And the grind is one of the reasons you want to step back. But, as you well know, the toughest part of making a decision about step back, the people. I mean, you spend more time with these jamokes, right, than you do with your family, right? It's true.
Yeah, that's true.
And they become close friends. And the same is true when you're putting the daily show together from 7 a.m. to 3 p.m. every day and on email incessantly. And these people I just spent some time today with Robin Roberts, Charlie Steiner, and Chris LaPlaca. You know Chris.
Yeah.
We had brunch after Good Morning America. And, so much is nonverbal. You experience that as a group. And to not have that available every day, that's the difficult part. But you know what? All my retired friends said, you'll wonder if you had time to work, how you had the time. And after 3 weeks, I'll tell you, it's true. Calendar's full. I squeezed you in, though.
How do you replace it, though?
Trying to do stuff for other people to keep busy with my alma mater, Seton Hall. Charlie and I were trading dueling concert stories. He thought that Ringo with McCartney was going to trump Springsteen coming out with Southside Johnny. And then I just seen Little Steven the other night. So. Okay. But shows, reading books, sleeping, taking better care of yourself. You'd be surprised. I mean, you know what it's like in this business.
Well, I tell the story to these guys. I would drink 4 20-ounce bottles of Coke every night.
You and Boomer together kept them in business.
Yes, but I wanted to be energetic at the end of... Not many jobs you have to be your best at the end of the day. And it would be 11 o'clock, and I'd be wired because I wanted to be energetic.
And then you can't sleep when you go home.
And then I'd go home, and I'd drink 3 or 4 beers to go to bed, and then... repeat.
Not a good cycle.
No, it wasn't.
No.
And we had no cafeteria there for how many years?
It opened on the 25th anniversary in 99. And, Millie and the Machines and, we
had vending machines.
The sandwich lady making you a wrap downstairs.
The infamous wrap.
But now it's, as you've been on campus, it's outstanding. But and I work the other end of the day, but like breakfast was eating a bagel and trying to drink your tea with one arm in your hand as you're, listening to the radio coming in or on the phone. And it's 5:45 in the morning when you hit the road. And it's a lot. But look, we got the best jobs in the world. Or you have one, and I had one of them. They are the best jobs in the world. We don't have problems. I mean, the guys that are working outside in this rain, they got issues. That's tough.
But if you were just starting, would ESPN be the place you would want to be?
Would they hire me?
Probably not.
I was 24.
With that, you didn't have much experience.
I had 3 years in local cable. I could relocate quickly. I made them wait 18 hours for a decision because I had 2 job offers on consecutive days. Scotty Connell walking me to the office 2 weeks to the day before sign-on, late August 79, essentially offering me the job. And I kind of bring him up short. I said, Mr. Connell, I'm going to have to get back to you. I have another job interview tomorrow. And I did in Newark with New Jersey Public Television. They offered me the number 2 sports job. So I had 18 hours to make up my mind. Now, it's 79. ESPN's not on the air. This other job would put me on the air weekends as a sports anchor at 24 years of age in New York and Philly, and then reporting 3 days a week. That's a tough call in 1979. And the money was identical. And one thing you learn eventually is that you don't do things for money in life. It's tough to say that all the time. And so I made them wait. But I had just come out of a situation where we had built this local cable operation from nothing. Literally the blueprints, and you could design your job. and here's another chance to do it. And
but at what point did you go, or did you go, I made a mistake by going to ESPN?
No, I don't think I mean, there'd be those days. My first day, I walked in at 10 a.m. and I walked out at 2 a.m. A true story. Absolutely true story. And I get back to the Holiday Inn in New Britain, and I say, to myself, geez, I wonder if I get my old job back the next morning when I pull my head off the pillow. But no, look, so it wasn't like playing for the New York Titans. The checks always cleared. You didn't have to run to the bank. There was a period in the early 80s when the rumors, Ted Turner was circling, and we were not profitable for a number of years. And until ABC came in, I remember the seismic jolt of energy that went through the company. I think it was 84 when ABC exercised their option and assumed majority control, which meant we had stable ownership that believed in the place.
And when I got there, so I got there in 1989, and this was the famous Charlotte Observer line from Chris Berman, because I was there to observe. So our boss, John Walsh, said, I want you to observe for 3 months. And I just
3 months. I give you a blue helmet? What was this, the Golan Heights? What?
I went to, I came from CNN that had the same format as SportsCenter. And so Chris Berman, every time he'd see me, he'd go, the Charlotte Observer. And it got to the point where I said, just put me on the air. Just let me go. Yeah. And Berman just got through with the 11 o'clock. And I was going to do, I believe, the 1 o'clock at the time. And he said, I'm going to stay and do your first show with you.
They boot somebody off the show, or he just Bigfooted somebody off the show?
He Bigfooted, and he said, I'm going to do it.
Good.
And so there were two moments. That one with Chris, and when I sent you a letter when I was in Dayton, Ohio, and you had no idea who I was, and I sent a letter to you and Greg Gumbel, and I just said, look at this tape and tell me if you see anything. Because I just lost the weekend job at Channel 2. I didn't get the job. Right. I'd lost it. And I thought, you know what? I can work at SportsCenter. That's the place I want to be. And I go, I'm going to send you a letter. And I sent this letter, and all of a sudden I get a letter back. I tried to find it.
I would love to see it. I have a vague recollection of this.
You wrote a full letter to me.
I had manners in those days.
You wrote
on a typewriter, no less.
You had a full letter to me saying, you're not ready now, but blah, 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 and stay in touch kind of thing.
Yeah.
And I was walking on the moon. It really helped me stay in the business, or at least an idea of wanting to continue to do it. Because I gave up hope, and I was just going to go. You know what? Let me see if somebody sees something in me, because I couldn't get a job in local sports. So of course, in my mind, I can get a job at ESPN. I can't work at Channel 2 in Dayton, Ohio.
I mean, again, they hired me 3 years of experience in local cable. Doubled my salary to the princely sum of $25,000 a year. I was walking on air. I was rich.
Yeah.
But and do whatever you want to do. I mean, I remember sitting across the desk from Chet Simmons, who was the president. He was the first president. Scotty Connell was the first executive vice president. And Chet gave, here's the guy who was the president of NBC Sports. Gave that up to come aboard here with Getty as the owner at ESPN and said, talk to sports fans the way they want to be talked to. We hired you for your opinions. Here's a titan in the industry. Me, who I think that visit I had to borrow my then girlfriend's Maverick with a stick shift to get up there because my car's in the shop. I can, you have to bail it out to move. And they hired me for what you think, but they turned us loose, and I don't want to say left us alone. Yeah, they left us alone, but they trusted us, and they trusted a lot of young people in the beginning. And if they hadn't done that, I don't know that when looking back at the fiscal issues in the early 81, 82, we might not have made it out of the woods, but we did.
And the other thing was, here I am, I send you a letter, and then I don't know how many years later it was, but I'm sitting next to you anchoring the 11 o'clock Sports Center. Yeah. And when I get there, we're knee-deep in Pete Rose's investigation. Ooh. And I had a local source who was a bookie who was taking the off bets from Pete's regular bookie. So we attacked that as well as anybody, I think, in the business covering that. And I was extremely proud of that, but I was trying to keep up with you. And it made me a better journalist because I was trying, I knew who you were and what you did and how you did it. I was just, I didn't want to be a highlight guy. I wanted to be a guy who could do highlights, but also could do investigative reporting. Wow. And I remember when we attacked it, I was proud. That's probably the proudest thing that I've ever been involved with at ESPN was the way we approached the Pete Rose situation.
You had your sources. I remember talking to a guy who had been in a car, overhearing Pete making the bets, and we got him on camera. And there was no objective doubt. We all knew well before Bart Giamatti brought the hammer down that Pete had lied. But yeah, that was insane.
What was your best day at ESPN? Best show?
Best show. Most meaningful? I don't know. Every year, and I want to say this respectfully, every year Trey Wingo and I trade notes on September 11th. I mean, here we are. How far are we from ground zero?
Not very far.
Not very far, right? Blocks. And were you in the office that day?
I went home and got my kids out of school.
Yeah, I don't blame you. And Barb did the same with our girls. Yeah. And the debate in the news, I was on the phone with Norby Williamson, who's a major executive still there at the time the second tower fell. I was scheduled to be off. Are you watching this? I said, oh my God. And I just said, the question was, do you need me in there? And the image answered the question. I'll be in. An hour later, I'm in there. And the raging debate that day was, what do we do? Do we do anything? And at the time, we were simulcasting ABC News. I mean, we were in shock. The loss, we didn't know anything. And eventually, this very educated but emotional debate yielded. We're going to do an hour show that night. And Trey and I fell to us to write it. And actually, if you go down to the 9/11 Museum, this special exhibit is still playing. You walk in there, you see yourself. It's tough, but it's a mind, And we tried to keep proper perspective, the proper relevance and respect for that. But that day and that week, we tried to, each day, we went on with hours and hours of coverage, how sports was reacting to something that we had never seen before.
Yeah.
And
so your best, not most meaningful, can also be your worst day, too, because of the gravity of what you're doing.
Yeah.
I mean, I look back when Tom Mees died, and I remember going to work, and when Jim Valvano passed away, and I avoided Jim Valvano.
Yeah.
Because my dad had died of cancer,
right,
and I told him the last day he was there before he was done with the basketball season, I said, Jim, I want to apologize. And I said, I purposely stayed away from you. And you know how gregarious, and he's like, what? What's wrong?
Right.
And I said, because I didn't want to get to know you more, and then you're not here anymore. And then I told him about my dad, and the first thing he said is, how long was he told he had to live? And I said, 6 months. And he goes, how long did he live? And I said, 6 months. And he was crestfallen. And he said, will you do me a favor? When I die, put a great picture over your shoulder. He goes, you know how you always have that picture over your shoulder when you're doing a story on somebody? He said, make sure it's a great picture of me. And it stayed with me. So in the moment, you're trying not to cry, but it was one of the, I'm glad we did it the right way. And when the Indians relievers, the pitchers died in spring training, and we had to go
Cruz
on
and
that
Olin,
night.
right? Yeah.
And we had to go on that night.
Yeah.
Like, those are the moments that stand out, because you're not known for those things. You're known for doing highlights. And that's where you want to go, you know what, I want to be a professional.
The greatest communal moment working at ESPN would have been the year you joined us, October 17th, 1989, the World Series earthquake.
Yeah.
I was 5 rows from the top of Candlestick Park. And people ask me, how long did it last? And the answer is long enough to start a Hail Mary, not long enough to finish it. Because you were standing on concrete, and it was like standing on a waterbed. And so, but it stopped. And Joe Torre is sitting next to me. He was doing analysis. And within less than 20 minutes, our crew had us on the air. We had to get out around the stadium at the center field. And that nobody could communicate. Nobody had personal cell phones back in those days. It was 1989. And so everybody just instinctively knew, with their work ethic and their commitment to a common mission, what we had to do. And it turned on a dime. Joe said, give me a crew. I'll go ahead and get some sound for you. Everybody just pitched in. And for 2 hours, we were the only live television out of a national catastrophe.
I thought it was as good a work as you've ever done. And Al Michaels, he knew exactly what was happening. You see the bridge. Like, he was telling you landmarks and what's going on in the moment. So you had his expertise in a bird's eye view, and then you and Joe Torre out in center field reacting to this with the players. They were on the field. They're hugging their wives. They weren't sure exactly what was happening. Was there going to be a game? I mean,
and we were on the air during an aftershock. And we still had a camera on top of the San Francisco 49ers scouting booth. So, anything about optics, you've got a zoom lens, and it magnifies the footage. And they're picking the bases up at that moment as an aftershock hits. So if there was any question if we were going to play baseball, those images, again, answered the story.
We have a presentation for you.
Oh, my gosh.
Spent a little bit of time on. I know you're on Good Morning America with Robin Roberts, and she surprised you with Charlie Steiner.
And Charlie's a walking surprise.
Yeah. Paulie, would you bring over the big surprise, the presentation to Bob Lee?
We just figured you have tons of Emmys, and you may have a little room left on the mantle in the office, so we put this together for you.
Okay.
Good. There we go. Spent a lot of time on this, and I hope that you take this with the appreciation that it was presented. If you'd like to read it, Bob.
Dan Patrick Show, Certificate of Appreciation. Almost spelled correctly.
Yeah. You got close, Bob.
I'm not going to mention where you teach. I'll do that school the favor and you the favor. Even though one of your former students was speaking so highly of you about 2 hours ago to me, awarded to Rob Lee.
Yeah.
Thanks for a whole lot of really, really great work hosting sports here in OTL. And thank you.
Yeah, we weren't sure how many years.
I will almost cherish this.
Yeah, we weren't sure how many. Paulie said, I don't know.
Thank you.
I just said put a lot of years or really, really long time or something like that.
Got most of the name right. 6 letters. You got 5 of them right. It's close. I mean, what else can you ask for?
Can we get the newsroom named after Tom Mees? Can we get? Am I asking too much here, Bob? I know that I've said why not build, you and Chris and Tom, and you want to name buildings there or put a statue of you three or whatever, a walkway. But I just don't want SportsCenter to forget about those who came before everybody, before it wasn't cool to work at SportsCenter.
Yeah.
That's all.
That would be nice. I mean, we're coming up on the 40th. There's going to be some celebration. I don't know what they've got up their sleeve, but Tom, my God, 22 years.
Yeah.
His daughter just got married about 3-4 weeks ago. But that would be the appropriate thing. There's a nice. They've recognized some individuals in the technical area. It'd be nice if they did it in the editorial, and Tom would be first on the list.
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think it'd be great. But even if they do a statue, I don't want a statue.
Well, there are pigeons in the world.
Yeah, I don't. I don't.
I work. Some of them are accurate.
I work with pigeons. They do
Wow,
that.
guys.
They do that to me every day.
Verbally every day. Yes.
Would you have a beard or no beard on your statue?
Probably no beard. Beards are an affectation of recent years.
Okay. But you're not going to go David Letterman on him.
Oh, hell no. No. This gets trimmed about every 5-6 days. No, I'm not going the full Monty.
Okay.
No.
Right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for everything.
Oh, man, it was fun. It always was fun. You made it fun. And
if you ever get bored, I mean, really, really, really bored,
that would be like really, really the same number of releases here. Yeah. Same idea.
But like a World Cup, and I provide the wine.
See, now you're getting it. By the way,
you pick the wine.
If you saw the farewell show, they poured some stag sleep.
Oh, I saw that.
Shap grabs it like he's an Oliver Twist. More, please, sir. You pick it up, Jeremy, by the gosh darn stem, so you don't, warm the wine. It's an expensive wine. Yeah, the wine you might have me in the boat.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Bob Lee, everybody.
Thanks, guys.
For more Dan Patrick Show, tune into Audience Channel 239 on DirecTV. Stream for free on BR Live or download the Dan Patrick Show app.